Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back, or if you're new, welcome. And today, the topic that I want to talk about is relic weapons. Now, this is something that I don't really see talked about a whole lot anymore and haven't in quite a while. And relic weapons are pretty good, most of them anyway. But the main problem with relics is their obtainability is pretty messed up. So the only way to obtain them without paying real money into the game is to play Clan Wars. But if you're a casual player like me, then there's really no way to get the uranium, craft them and stuff. So your only option is to pay hundreds of dollars for one or two weapons that you may or may not even like. So today, this is what I want to talk about. And I also want to talk about, if you do invest in them, which ones I recommend, which ones I like. Yeah, so why don't we go ahead and we'll go look at these relics. Actually, something I need to do while I'm on here. Okay. So, there's not a lot of relic weapons in the game, but there's enough to choose from. And there's some really good ones, there's some decent ones, and then there's some that are like meh. It's just kind of preference. But let's start, we'll go from top to bottom. So the Scorpion, this is a really popular one, and it's something a lot of people play on hovers, and they'll play them at lower power score as well. They'll run one, maybe two of these, and they're pretty good. If you run them at lower power score, you can blow people's frames up if they have anything undermounted, because the Scorpion, it passes through 2 meters of armor. And so, you know, at anything like 9,000 or less, that's probably like your whole car pretty much. But these are pretty good for popping. If you're a sniper and you want to use something, you can run these on hovers. The only downside to running Scorpions on hovers is you have to take into account the power score, and therefore you're not really going to have a whole lot of armor, if any at all. So keep that in mind. And then next is my favorite weapon, the Porcupine. The Porcupine is another really popular relic weapon, and it's low energy, so you can run a whole bunch of these. Obviously, you know, you got to keep in mind what power score you're trying to target. And my suggestion is the sweet spot for the number of ports is 3. 3 just seems to be a really good number. You're not a super high power score. Well, you can be if you choose to be, but generally most people that run 3 of these, or even 2, they try to keep their power score 9k or less, and usually you can make some pretty solid builds with these, and 3 of them do a lot of damage. Even 2 of them are pretty strong, but these are just, it's a super solid weapon, and it's really good if you just want to sit back and support the team and spam a bunch of these all over the battlefield and mess people up. This is probably the best option on this list. So yeah, I want to invest in these at some point again. They're really good. Also, you can see why I said hundreds of dollars to buy one of these outright, or a couple of these outright, because they go anywhere between like 26 and 30 grand. I mean, even the less popular ones are still 26k, but yeah, I don't know. They're super expensive. The breakers, I don't see a whole lot of people using these anymore, but they're not terrible, but they're not really the best either. So, I mean, it's a shotgun. The perk is okay, I guess. And the damage is pretty solid. You can run up to 3 of these. 2 if you want radiators, then coolers or whatever. Cloaks. Not really much else to say about that. They're very high power scores, so keep that in mind. And then next we have the Typhoons, which I used to love these things. These things used to be really fun. And I'm sure they still are, but this is pretty much the Big Daddy version of the Tsunami. It's the good version of the Tsunami, if you want to put it that way. But yeah, it's not bad. It's a cannon. The perk is really good. And again, high power score, so you got to keep that in mind. A lot of people will play these on hovers, which I feel like is probably the best. But yeah, really solid cannon. But it's one of the cheaper ones as well, one of the cheaper relics. The Punisher machine guns, don't really see these a whole lot either. They're not bad. I would never say they're bad. I feel like they should have more like 400 durability. I think that, that would do it more justice, considering it is a relic. But yeah. So the perk is successfully landing 40 shots increases damage by 100% for 6 seconds. Each miss increases the number of hits required. Now, if you can get the perk to activate, I mean, that's really good. That'll bring your overall damage up to, what is that? It's already at 4.5, so it'll bring it up to 9 out of 10 damage for each one of these that you have. You can run like 3 of these, so not too bad. The Firebug, it is obviously hands down best flamethrower in the game. It's just, it's a flamethrower, does the same thing as the other 2 in the game do. It's just the damage on this one is overall better, and it has a lot of durability compared to its counterparts. Jormungandr, this is my second favorite weapon. This one is probably the most obtainable, and the reason why I say that, well, this one or the Scorpion would be the most obtainable in my opinion. The reason why I say that about the Jormungandr, though, is because my suggestion for this gun is to run like 2, maybe even 3, but at least 2 Nidhogg's with one of these, and you can do a crap ton of damage, and you'll, be probably pretty high power score. But I had fun when I ran this, and I messed people up a lot. Like, this was a really good setup. I regret getting rid of my Jormungandr because it was just really good. But and especially if you run 3 Nidhogg's with 1 Jormungandr, oh man, you'll be really high power score, but boy, you will mess people up really bad. It's kind of a fire shotgun. It heats people up after you land shots, the second, third, fourth, etc. hits. If you continue to hit those shots, will heat up the target's parts and do extra damage. And that's why I say running just one of these alone with some other shotguns like the Nidhogg or Fafnir, you can do a crap ton of damage, way more than you normally would. So this one's really fun, super useful, and a couple $100 will get you one. That's a terrible thing to say because it's so expensive. Next we have the Ripper. The Ripper definitely could be better. I feel like for its energy cost and its power score, it should be a lot better. It does say that it has almost maxed out damage, but the problem is it doesn't feel like it at all. I've tested these out, tested some builds out with the Rippers in Exhibition, and they just, honestly, even 3 of them, like 3 of them was okay. It was decent, but still, for adding on 9,000 power score and using up 15 energy, I wouldn't say it's worth it. Now, they did get a buff recently, a couple months ago, I believe. They got a buff, but it wasn't anything really all that significant. They just made it to where it can turn 360 degrees instead of having a limited turn angle, and they also made it to where the projectiles stick into the ground for a longer period of time. I just feel like they don't do enough damage though, and I know I'm not the only one to make this statement, so I know I'm not alone on that. But yeah, I wouldn't really recommend this one, or if you are thinking about it, at least go try it out first and consider how high a power score you're going to be and if that damage output is really worth it. So next we have the Mastodon. This is probably my favorite cannon in the game. This is the big brother, the big daddy of the Mammoth. And this thing hits really hard. If you're accurate with it, it is very strong. It has a lot of durability. It's the second highest durability weapon in the game. And it has some of the best damage in the game, in my opinion. Power score, really high, 3600 power score. You can run 2 of these. And if you charge up the shot, the first shot heats the target while the second shot does blast damage. And so you can see that it does have a lot of potential to be very, very strong. Otherwise, it's just a cannon, just a really strong cannon with great durability. It is very heavy though, so that's something to keep in mind, as well as the power score. But this is a good weapon to actually use at high power score. It's something that won't get knocked off easy, and especially with the if you use the Ermac cabin and you have one of the new, well, I shouldn't say new, but one of the newer defense modules, mount these to that, and I mean, run Grizzly, and I mean, got a pretty solid build. Last one on the list is the Flash. I personally feel like the Flash isn't worth it. Now, its perk is slightly different than the Spark 3, but I just feel like for being 2400 power score and being, you know, 26, almost 27,000 coins, is it really worth it? Because the stats are pretty much identical. The damage is identical to the Spark. The range is identical to the Spark. I mean, it's just the only thing, literally the only thing that changes is the power score, the durability, probably the mass, I'm guessing, and the perk slightly changes. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same. The only thing that changes on the perk is that it slows down weapon reloading for whatever enemy you're hitting, and it stacks. But I mean, again, this is something you need to consider and take into account. Is it really worth this, or is it more worth just spending a couple thousand or, you know, 3,000 coins to get a Spark instead? I personally feel like the Flash is useless. I feel like if they up the damage a little bit and maybe the range a little bit, it would be more viable as a relic weapon. But as of right now, it's just for 10 times the price, 20 times the price of the Spark. I can't bring myself to recommend this. But I know there's some people out there that won't listen. They'll be like, the Spark is my favorite weapon. It's the greatest weapon in the game. Blah, 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 blah. Whatever. To each his own. This is my opinion. This is my take on it. But yeah, so, I mean, there you go. Again, the prices are pretty astronomical on relics. They always have been. I mean, they used to be cheaper. Like, I want to say like 6 months ago, they were cheaper. But all of a sudden, they went up in price significantly and just have not really come back down. But yeah, it just sucks that the attainability on the relics just isn't there. I mean, the devs pretty much make it to where only hardcore, sweaty Clan Wars players have a chance at crafting those. And even so, even if you are crafting those, I've heard from people that actually play Clan Wars on a regular basis that if you're grinding and you're winning and everything, it could still take you 6 or 7 months to be able to craft one relic weapon. And in my opinion, that's just, it's outrageous. I feel like it's stupid. And it's been like that since day one of this game, and I just think it's time for a change. I feel like the relics should be more attainable. I feel like the price on them needs to come way down. I don't know what the devs need to do, but they need to do something, because the absurdity of the pricing and obtainability is just, it blows my mind that they have not done something about relic weapons yet. And it's quite frustrating, especially, you know, if you're a person that's dying by them a lot, but you just physically cannot get your hands on one. It's stupid, because they're catering to people who play Clan Wars and, you know, competitive shit. They don't allow the casual player to get their hands on it unless you drop your entire bank account into this game, and I feel like that's entirely wrong. You know, I mean, that's just how Tarjum is, but if Tarjum sees this video, dudes, you really need to change some shit with this game. Straight up. As much as I love this game, there's some things that really need to change that have never even been addressed. And one of the main things is the relics. Second thing is the matchmaking. Matchmaking needs a complete rework, in my opinion. But that's something for a different video. But yeah, anyways, you know, you can take everything I said with a grain of salt if you're stubborn, or if you're smart. Seriously think about it before you go investing. Don't get me wrong, relics are fun, they're strong, but it's up to you. If you're not a Clan Wars player, it's up to you if you really want to drop that kind of money on these weapons. Now, if you do end up doing that, and you want to put a bunch of money in, really want relics, the one thing I can suggest, if you are going to drop a butt ton of money like that into this game, wait until there's a huge sale on the packs and the coins and stuff. The best time of year for that is around the holiday season. So we're talking like Halloween, which is coming up here soon. They may have some big sales going on the packs and stuff. And the major one is the Christmas season. When Christmas starts coming around, they start popping out a bunch of sales for New Year's and Christmas. And that is the best time. If you're going to invest a lot of money into this game, wait till then. And then if you want to drop the money, go for it, because you're going to get double the coin for what you're paying compared to if you bought all the coins or packs without the sale. So keep that in mind. You're paying half the price if you go ahead and spend the money on coins and packs during the holiday season. Just wait for a sale if you're going to do that. Otherwise, don't buy it. But yeah, I think that's pretty much about it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I know it was a simpler video, but it's hard to find content on Crossout right now because of the server issues, which still have not been fixed. I'm lucky I even got a chance to make this video. But yeah, leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and don't forget I do have a Patreon if you want to check that out and support the channel. Otherwise, this is Anubis Tech and Games, and I'll catch you on the next one.